Hello, everybody. Happy Friday to you on this June 20th, 2025. I have all of your stories for your rush hour ride to work, and it is summer solstice this weekend, but the world of hot gossip is not taking the summer off. It has been blazing hot. It's a heat wave, folks. In today's episode, as I'm recording from my mobile studio setup here in New York City, we've got updates from the Karen Reed trial. She was acquitted of murder, and now we hear from her law firm and what she has to say, albeit very briefly. And then Miley Cyrus discusses her dad doping on the set of Hannah Montana and a big Blake Lively tease. A big tease. And we also hear from some boys, again, Messier in the world of content creation, as good friend of the program, Zach from No Filter with Zach, actually shares some DMs that came in alleging, actually proving why there's content creators that are getting stuck in the crossfire. Not Zach, but the one we'll be talking about in the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni case. After that, we'll discuss the Dodgers being thrown into the fray as ICE was setting up, I guess, detentions outside of Dodger Stadium. They said, not on our watch. And then more on Iran and the war breaking out and what sort of propaganda is being thrown at us as to why we should be a part of that war. My quick answer to that is we shouldn't. There shouldn't be a war. I'm all for peace, especially on a Friday. All these stories and more, it starts right now on The Rush. Some updates for you guys. If you're in New York City, last night I had a couple sisters come out and sit front and row at my stand-up show. Appreciate all of the support. Tonight I'll be at Stand Up New York, and then Saturday I'll be back at New York Comedy Club in the Lower East Side. I think it's a 5:30 p.m. show, nice and early, right? That's what I'm talking about. And then West Side Comedy Club at 8 p.m. So plenty of chances to see me while I'm here this weekend. And by the way, congratulations and happy birthday to friend of the show, Caitlin Bristow. Lonely in Love, a new single by Caitlin. Here, she says she wrote a ballad. She was challenged by Mel Robbins to write a song by her 40th birthday, and here it is. And if there's any question about whether it's good or not, you're missing the point. I hear it's really good, but you're missing the point. The point of creativity is to put stuff out there and get judged by people who don't put stuff out there. But don't worry about being judged. You've already won by just taking that creative leap. I'd love to see a full album by Caitlin. Go out on tour. Why not? Live your dream. Come on, folks. All right, here's Karen Reed. We got her. They're saying they're going to enjoy a nice, juicy steak after her big win at trial. So they're, partying it up Boston style at Maestro's Maestro's Ocean Club. Either way, here is what I guess her father. We're going to get a clip from her father and her lawyer. Have a listen.
You want to tell us how you're feeling?
Happy. I'm happy. Thank you.
What is that weight like off your shoulders?
Any words for the O'Keefe family?
No.
I fought for John O'Keefe harder than anyone.
Bill, is there anything you want to say just about this night?
Feels good. It does feel good. To be free of everything, of her not guilty, knowing she's factually innocent of all this, just feels very gratifying, very heartwarming.
So there it is. Very gratifying, very heartwarming. She was proven to be innocent or acquitted of murder twice now in both trials. So I guess that's enough for me. You know what I mean? Either way, her attorney, Alan Jackson, had doubts about a fair trial, but never doubted her innocence.
Just about 23 hours ago, Karen Reed was acquitted of all the major charges, found not guilty of murder, not guilty of manslaughter, etc. And it is a pleasure to be joined this afternoon by her attorney, Alan Jackson, who did such a fantastic job in the trial, both trials actually. Alan Jackson, thank you so much for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
It's my pleasure, Howie. Thanks for having me.
So, did you ever were you ever in any doubt, or how much doubt were you in as to whether or not you could get a fair trial in Norfolk County the second time around?
Oh, I had how much doubt was I? I was in enormous doubt. I mean, I never doubted the evidence. I never doubted her innocence. I never doubted Karen's. The just result should be that Karen walks out of that courtroom in the front door, through the front door, not the back. But did I doubt whether or not I could get a fair trial? About every single minute of every single day. Yeah. I doubted it significantly. I think we may be the only duo, lawyer and client, who has gotten back-to-back acquittals on murder charges.
Yeah, there it is. I mean, gosh, can you imagine the feeling of several years of her life? And you have to remember, also, her boyfriend died, right? So it's like she said she was the only one fighting for, or the one who was most fighting for her boyfriend, but of course, in the process, had to fight for her own innocence. Let's go to Miley Cyrus. I thought this was an interesting clip. She was asked about any interesting moments from the Hannah Montana set. She said it was when her father was smoking weed.
What's a core memory from the Hannah Montana days that still makes you laugh?
Dad smoking pot and everyone blaming me for it. What?
I do remember.
It's hilarious.
I know. Oh my God.
He wasn't sharing because Tish wasn't token yet.
No, Tish. And they were calling me saying B-Ray was smoking pot. And I was saying, absolutely not. He would never do that. It's Mitchell Musso.
Well, it was Mitchell. It was Mitchell Musso. It was Mitchell Musso. It was both.
It's incredible. That's too good.
All right. I mean, hey, what a family. The Cyruses, right? So there, Miley goes, you weren't toking yet. Have you ever asked your mom if she smokes weed? I think we'd get along with our parents more if we could all smoke weed together. Wouldn't that be a good Thanksgiving, you know? How about this? Less Fox News and more weed. How about that? All right. So we covered yesterday. So by the way, oh my gosh, am I exhausted? I flew in yesterday from Nashville to where am I? New York. 6 a.m. flight, 4 hours delayed on the tarmac, babies pooping everywhere. He peed on me. I got pee on me. That was the easiest part of the day. My wife was really sick. She's feeling better. Thanks for asking. And I lost my driver's license at the airport. I have no idea where it is. So if you're at the Nashville airport, DM me if you have my driver's license. I am undocumented as of right now. Got to do something about that before I fly back. But either way, it was a long and crazy day. But what I covered was this Blake Lively decision by the judge, right? The decision that she couldn't silence Taylor Swift. This was a huge moment. Here's the update from what CBS Mornings had to say. Then I'm going to share what Billy Bush had to say, and then we're going to get into the real tea from today. This is perfect Friday content. Have a listen.
Swift, here's some news getting dragged back into the legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. A judge ruling just yesterday that Baldoni can have access to messages between Swift and Lively, who had been close friends. Lively previously claimed Swift had knowledge of the working environment on the film It Ends With Us. No comment at this hour from Swift or Baldoni. Lively, meanwhile, is suing Baldoni for alleged sexual harassment and retaliation. Told People magazine she will, quote, continue to call out Baldoni's relentless efforts to exploit Miss Swift's popularity.
Now, of course, this is rich coming from Blake Lively, who, has exploited her, friend, the most popular pop star in the world. But here's what Billy Bush had to say. Look at him coming in with that hair.
Judge Lyman dismissed Justin Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit against Blake Lively. People thought, big win for Blake, but you knew it wasn't over. Brian Friedman said it wasn't over, and it's definitely not over. So the judge is now allowing Brian Friedman and the defense's request to see the text messages between Blake Lively and Taylor Swift, which, of course, Taylor thought she was out of this thing. She wasn't going to have to appear in court. She didn't have to be a witness, but now her text messages with Blake are fair game. That's a big move, okay? And he said as long it has to do with the movie. It has to do with the film and the situation. But imagine if Blake is in there going, oh my God, I'm totally going to roll this loser. He's like, man bun guy. Like, please, Ryan and I are totally going to produce this. Colleen likes me so much more. And if Taylor is in there corroborating, egging on, enabling, or anything like that, I mean, it's going to be bad. This could be the most important element of the whole. It could reveal everything about intention. So, a big win for Baldoni.
A big win indeed. Now, listen, my thought is, and again, maybe this is my confirmation bias because I want to believe Taylor Swift is a good person. Don't hate me for that. Shake it off, Taylor Swift. But my belief here is that Taylor Swift, like any friend, would be like, yeah, what a weirdo. You know when your friend's talking trash and you just go along with them? Yeah, isn't he the worst? Oh my gosh, yeah, your mom does stink. Oh yeah, so you just whatever. But I don't see a scenario where Blake Lively's going to put her cards out that obviously and say, I'm going to roll him, I'm going to lie, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But I could see a scenario where none of her text messages line up to the fact that she was being assaulted. Like, I don't think she has that kind of paper trail. I think if she did, she would have leaked it already. But what I do find interesting is Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney. What I see him doing right now, if he is really going for the jugular, as it were, what I see him doing is he knows what information he might be able to access from Taylor Swift. Of course, we believe it's a possible extortion attempt from Blake Lively, saying, I'm going to release these text messages if you don't publicly support me, X, Y, and Z. Well, it looks as though Brian Friedman, even though he could dunk on Blake Lively right now, could also wait a few weeks, try to get Blake Lively to catch herself in a lie before he then dunks on her again. What's better than dunking? Calling someone out as a liar and then dunking. That's what's better. Well, here, this is posted from the It Ends With Us subreddit. Confirmed, content creator Leslie Dobson, who is on the witness list, is the primary source for spreading the alleged Sony HR complaints. Now, this is information, they say, shout out to Just Plain Zach. Again, our friend Zach's got a great podcast. He's all over this. And by the way, I mean, Zach, he's a bulldog. He's really good. I want to give Zach his flowers. Zach would be a really good journalist and investigate if that's what he wanted to do. Now, he kind of is in one part, but he's a content creator, covers stories like this and others and all that. But I think he does a really good job of trying to get people on record for the information that they have. So here he is cross-examining in the DMs Dr. Leslie Dobson. Now, she's been accused by some as working for the Wayfair. Excuse me. Working for Blake Lively. I don't think that's the case. Everyone has their own sort of intentions as to why they cover different things and feel a certain way. It could be that maybe, who knows? I really couldn't tell you. But what I have heard from clinical psychologists and other doctors is a lot of times those that want to help others with their messiness, psychologists are often pretty messy themselves. I'm not saying Dr. Leslie is, but she's got that twinkle in her eye. So either way, you can see from these text messages, essentially she gave Zach and Donna HR complaints. She says, names aren't in, but it's clear. My friend in Sony knows Sony will deny until court. That's why everyone is scared. So I guess it's this idea that she was the one who leaked these HR complaints. Whether she fabricated them or not is another story. I'm not accusing her of that, but you could understand these HR complaints pretty much have been debunked. They are not real. They are, fan fiction at best. But what's interesting is if they can find out the origins of them, I think there could be something else there. So I don't see why they wouldn't want to ask Dr. Leslie Dobson more questions regarding, Zach says, if you're not lying, show some actual evidence. So again, Zach doing the work that a lot of journalists don't do out there, trying to get her to cross her T's and dot her I's. She accused his language of being defamatory and accusational. Oh, the big words are coming out. Either way, I'm pretty sure they weren't defamatory, as he hasn't been sued for defamation. So either way, I'm sure Zach and Donna, they read these HR complaints. I don't know if I did, but a lot of people did. I'm not judging anyone who did. I think immediately they didn't believe them. And that's kind of the modern world of reporting, in that part of doing your homework and showing your math, as it were, is to show it live. And you kind of, want to lean on your audience to say, take it with a grain of salt. Don't have to believe this, but here's what we're seeing. And I think that's interesting because by showing those phony HR complaints and now by dropping these DMs, essentially, I don't know, this doesn't count as exposing a source, or it kind of does, but either way, saying, look, let's let this thing play out in court. Let's see where you got these HR complaints, because whoever you got them from, if they made them up, should be, they should be, prosecuted, right? You can't be just making up fake HR complaints. That's like defamation 101. All right, coming up next, I've got for you guys some tea we can stew on over the weekend. Good friend of the show, Without a Crystal Ball, posted this. Holy smoke-a-roonies. How about this? She said, just wait. You have no idea what's about to happen and the bomb that's about to drop. Next week is going to be a mess. She said, I can't tell you what it is, but something big is about to blow up Blake's case. Just watch the docket. It's about to get super messy. And what could this be? I honestly have no idea, but I, for one, some people don't like this when, you tease something, but just tell me. No, I like it when you tickle the balls, metaphorically here. She's tickling the old balls of the Baldoni trial, and I say all for it. Tickle away there without a crystal ball. So what could it be? Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. If you get it right, then you can claim, you're at a psychic next week. All right, so let's veer off of Baldoni. And again, maybe there'll be more breaking news this afternoon. I'm not too sure, but I'll be here to cover it if we get there. All right, Florida, this is very interesting. Florida Attorney General has a plan to make an Alligator Alcatraz in the Florida Everglades. This is the most Florida story and the most Florida headline I've ever seen. Let's have a listen to this.
General James Upmeyer here at the Miami-Dade Collier training facility. This is an old, virtually abandoned airport facility right in the middle of the Everglades. Florida's been leading on immigration enforcement, supporting the Trump administration and ICE's efforts to detain and deport criminal aliens.
By the way, okay, I need to pause. I like the production value. It does read like some sort of, HGTV show. But what I don't like is that these are people's lives. They're sort of making fun of these people that are, in most cases, trying to make a better life for themselves here in the United States. So I think that's absolutely ridiculous that the Florida Attorney General has wasted his time. Like, did he do this with taxpayer money? I have no idea. If it was a random person and a random idea about Alligator Alcatraz, maybe I'd be into it. But the fact that they're, talking about this with regard to, men and women who are being separated from their families and whatnot, I think it's disgusting, to say the least. Okay, let's move it on. LA Dodgers, there are federal agents refused entry to the stadium. Boy, we've been talking about the Dodgers a lot this week after Neza, the singer, was kicked out of the stadium, I guess maybe not entirely, but for singing the national anthem in Spanish. Well, now ICE is fact-checking the Dodgers statement, saying its agents were never at the stadium, but Homeland Security said CBP vehicles were present very briefly, unrelated to any operation or enforcement. So Wu-Tang for the children, W-U-Tang Kids, posted, "Hey, Magic Johnson, are you good with ICE thugs staging at Dodgers Stadium?" And again, of course they wouldn't be, because, Dodger Stadium is reflective of the culture of Los Angeles, a melting pot of immigration, of people that have immigrated here that, come to the United States for a better life. But we'll get into, actually, let's jump ahead and go into the reporting on this. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, no federal holiday for the ICE agents. You take a look behind us here, you'll see a small group of ICE agents right now staging just past Gate E of Dodger Stadium. It was a much larger number of agents earlier this morning. Right now it's kind of whittled down a bit to about 4 vehicles, but it's also starting to attract a lot of attention from immigration activists. Here's what it looked like earlier this morning. Dozens of ICE agents gathering with their faces hidden, wearing tactical gear. This was shot around 9 o'clock this morning before the agents headed out to various locations in the area. We're hearing from elected officials that LA Council District 1 workers alerted LAPD of the staging at Dodgers Gate. LAPD then notified the Dodgers, and the organization apparently told the ICE agents to leave the property.
How about that? Dodgers coming in hot, saying, you can't stay here, you got to go. Listen, this is leading to protests. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous what's going on. I want to start a government agency called DICE, which is Deport ICE. That's what I want to do. We're just going to send ICE on their way. Hey, maybe we could get a home for these ICE agents at Alligator Alcatraz.
It's not unique to see the entrance to Dodger Stadium parking lot packed with people and vehicles. But this morning, those people were federal agents, and the vehicles had no license plates. The Department of Homeland Security using it as a staging area. Before long, dozens of immigration activists flooded the street outside Gate E of the stadium. Just a handful of federal agents remained at that point, but the face-off spurred the arrival of LAPD officers, who quickly formed a skirmish line between the two groups. It was only after the agents left that the Dodgers put out this statement saying, this morning ICE agents came to Dodger Stadium and requested permission to access the parking lots.
You know, this is so ridiculous. Dodger Stadium during COVID was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, vaccination sites in the world. People that wanted to come through to, regardless of what you think about the effectiveness of the vaccines, everyone was working together to, try to get the world open again. And it's like, to go from that to wanting to stage a fearful deportation of people, it's just it's just pitiful. Well, how about this for pitiful? Yesterday we talked about Juneteenth, a federal holiday, which celebrates basically the beginning. Is really the beginning of freedom, right? We had 4th of July, Independence Day. That's when the country became the country. But, there was people that were living here as slaves. And it wasn't until this date, after Emancipation Proclamation, that, forces came into parts of Texas and said, no, you got to give them up. And that was kind of when true independence really began, or at least the pursuit of. Well, Donald Trump tweeted this: too many non-working holidays in America. It is costing our country billions of dollars to keep all of these businesses closed. The workers don't want it either. Soon we'll end up having a holiday for every once working day of the year. It must change if we're going to make America great again. By the way, this is rich coming from a guy who just spent how much money on his little dinky military parade where he couldn't even get his troops to march in step. We had better, we marched in better formation in high school band. And that's not to say anything about the troops. I just think no one wanted to be there. But very interesting. It says this could cost the country billions of dollars. Well, since Donald Trump has scammed people out of billions of dollars with his Trump coin and his MAGA phone and all the other stuff he's got going on, maybe he could foot the bill, right? It's like he is kind of operating our country as a slave master. He wants people working. He doesn't want people taking a knee at the national anthem. He wants to just shoot on demand, guilty till proven innocent or whatever, to those, the kids from Central Park that he falsely accused of, committing crimes. It's just one thing after another with him, a dictator in chief. So let's move it on from there. Couple more stories to round it up. So talk about the Iran war, right? The war that's broke out between Iran and Israel, which effectively the United States is already involved in. But as it works out with wars, you're supposed to ask Congress, hey, can we vote on whether or not the U.S. is going to go into the war? Trump would rather be that drunk friend who just, punches people and then hopes that we will stand by him. But as has been shown by previous allies when we went into, wars of regime change, they don't always want to stand by us because they think we're belligerent. Here's what Senator Rand Paul has to say about Donald Trump ignoring the Constitution.
Is explicit that if you want to drop a 10,000-pound bomb on another country, you have to ask for permission. So the president wants to do this. It's not like it's a secret. It's on our show. We're talking about it now. It was on the front page of every newspaper. It's not a secret that he's contemplating it. He should come to Congress. He should call a joint session of Congress, and he would say, it's my intention to declare war on Iran, and we should vote on it. That's what the Constitution contemplated. No other contemplation by our founding fathers. All right.
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt.
And by the way, this is exactly what Trump does, right? It's like more apologize than ask for permission. Not that he's going to ever apologize, but he's doing this with the folks that he sent to El Salvador. He'd rather take bold stances that are unconstitutional and then later, fight them in court and have to retract them if possible. But in this case, if they decide to drop one of these bunker bombs that blows up a mountainside that's got uranium stored in it, how do you even go back from that? I mean, do you charge the guy with war crimes? Now, not to mention, by the way, if you are Iran, as Tulsi Gabbard has said, they never had the capability to make these nukes. But if you're Iran right now, everyone who knows anything about war is saying this is the time you would now escalate to make those nukes, because if you have nukes, it's the only deterrent from having your government toppled. like North Korea, right? They have nukes, and therefore we kind of just leave them alone, right? I'm not saying this is necessarily the right way, but when you get your country into wars, you have to know these things. That Trump trying to play hardball with Iran is actually escalating on their end the desire to get the nukes in the first place. So Israel has cried wolf essentially for several decades about how Iran is right around the corner from having a nuke. And now they're just flat out admitting it. Have a listen.
Everyone was crying wolf. You're absolutely right. We were crying wolf for 20 years. But now the wolf really arrived. That was the time that we just couldn't say anymore. Tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, when we'll be ready, when there will be a better situation, the necessity was right now.
So do you understand the problem with that statement? He's saying, yeah, we were crying wolf, but now we're not. Well, I put into Chat GPT, I says, the metaphor, I said, what is the metaphor behind the term boy who cried wolf? Just to break it down. The metaphor behind the boy who cried wolf comes from Aesop's fable and represents the idea that if someone repeatedly lies or raises false alarms, people will stop believing them even when they're telling the truth. So yeah, that's the case. Could Israel be telling the truth that Iran finally has a nuke? Maybe, although our own spy agencies, our own intelligence agencies say that the information they have says that's not the case. Now, I want to share with you, I love these moments where, strong senior senators kind of come out here and demand respect from some people in the Trump administration. In this case, we have Senator Jackie Rosen. She just completely dresses down Pete Hegseth for his really not taking the job he has seriously.
I believe it's appropriate for any social media personality to influence personnel decisions in your department, yes or no?
I believe your time is up, Senator.
Oh, it is not up to you to tell me when my time is up.
Well, the time
And I am going to say, Mr. Secretary, you're either feckless or complicit. You're not in control of your department. You are unserious. It is shocking. You're not combating anti-Semitism within your ranks. It's a dangerous and pivotal time in our nation's history. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. And I don't appreciate the smirk, sir. You are the Secretary of Defense.
Wow. She said, I've had it up to here. Knock it off. I mean, wild stuff, right? This is absolutely wild stuff. But, this isn't the first time we've had a strong female senator scolding someone in the Trump administration saying, what the hell are you doing out there? I love to see it. I don't know about you guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this morning. Will we have bombshell news on this Friday afternoon? People like to dump some interesting news on Friday afternoon. So stick around, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see if we can get to it. Otherwise, maybe we'll catch you at a stand-up show this weekend. We'll talk to you later. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.